Hey everybody, Sean here from the Black Page, and I'm sitting with Russ Miller. Russ, how are you? Good to see you.
All right.
Russ is in town in Victoria, home of the Black Page. We're on a little Mapex tour here.
That's right.
Russ, I think probably the list of things you haven't done would be way shorter than the list of things. The only thing maybe you haven't done is gone to the moon or something. I don't know. 25 hit Grammy award-winning songs. How many Modern Drummer Awards now? Like, we're up to 7 or 8.
I don't know, something like that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So, question for you: a guy that wins and does that much, when do you find time to do anything else?
I know. I have a little 5-year-old little girl that fills up the rest of it.
Right.
For me.
Right.
But, and that's one of the reasons I haven't done a lot of big tours in the past year, 5-6 years, because I wanted to be around her.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But I work, a lot.
Yeah.
And every day
you're the drummer for American Idol.
Yeah. I do all the mentor sessions when they have the guest artists come in.
Right.
And then some recordings and various things. But yeah.
So you must see a wide variety of musicians, maybe even really young musicians, that aren't aware of some of the stuff that the knowledge you possess.
Yeah.
How do you find that in trying to relate to newer musicians or younger musicians that obviously are very talented?
Yeah.
Just don't have the experience.
Yeah, there's sort of a running, let's say, I don't know. There's this theme of like non-apprenticeship.
Right.
That seems to be out there, where, like when I was a kid, you were an apprentice of your teacher, or you were an apprentice of some of the other cats in town, like at the drum shop or whatever, the guys that you knew. And, we would go and I would go sub on their gig, or I would go to their gig and watch it. And then, I would start doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and corporate things. And, we just did 1 million gigs, man. Like, 1 million gigs. And Billy Sheehan and I were talking about this the other day, that, cats they're not apprentices of what's going on. Like, they buy a drum set and take a lesson or buy a video or do whatever, and then they're like, I want to be a rock star.
Right.
And, you don't have the backstory of the whole thing. So you got to look at it like another career. Like, a doctor doesn't go, I want to be a doctor, and go buy a stethoscope and open an office. You know what I mean? He's got to go to school and get some background.
Hang a sign on patients.
Yeah. You got to go do that, and you got to go play. I know a lot of cats that are like, heavy players. They couldn't do a casual gig if their life depended on it.
Right.
Because they don't even know half of the beats you'd have to know. Or whatever.
Exactly.
But that was just stuff that we had to do. Like, you had to know a cha-cha-cha. You had to know a bolero. You had to know a rumba. Like, and it all affected all that other stuff.
Right.
Did it make me better when I played with the Psychedelic Furs or Andrea Bocelli or whatever? Yeah, of course it did.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I was playing the cha-cha with them, but there was a different foundational aspect of music that came into it.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, we interviewed Billy Sheehan a while back, but I said, like, how do you get to your level? Like, when did you practice? He said, no, I just played. I played with everyone. Yeah, we played everything.
Yeah, we have a trio, Billy and Phil X and I.
Right.
And, and we just play. We get together. I'm not joking. We will play cover songs. You have to stop us.
Yeah.
And somebody just starts playing a bar of a song, and then bam, we're in, because we all know 1 million songs.
Right.
We all did that. I paid my way through college 6 nights a week in a club. 9 to 3 every night.
Wow.
Playing top 40 tunes, and I always tell guys when they go to like a new city, because I grew up in Ohio. Then I went to University of Miami. I went to Florida, lived in Florida.
Yeah. And
then worked in that area with people from that were based out of there, and then went to LA. So I had 3 like sort of moves.
Yeah.
Different
moves.
scenes or whatever.
Yeah.
LA being like no joke, obviously.
Yeah.
And I always tell guys, like, if you move to a new scene, man, you got to get into it like the casual offices.
Yeah.
Because you meet all these other players, and they can all play, or they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And then I always would say, for me, if I go to a gig, everyone on that band should be referring me from that night forward.
Right.
If they don't, then I failed.
Yeah.
I failed. And that's how it branches, and that's how that happens. Is you go do all these gigs, you meet all these guys, and then you know, tonight the bass player calls me for this other gig, you know, and then now I got him calling me and the guy on the new gig, hopefully, if I'm doing it well, you know. And, you know, I say, like, I can trace, literally, I can trace a Grammy situation, like, say, Nelly Furtado's I'm Like a Bird, you know, or something, one of those big songs that I did. I can trace that back. I did it once, actually. It was for somebody. And I traced it back to a jazz gig at Magic Mountain.
Wow.
The amusement park.
Yeah. Wow.
That literally, it was like, okay, how did I meet this guy? Okay, I met him through here, I met him through here, and blah, 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 blah. And I went all the way down to, it was like a $75 jazz gig at Magic Mountain.
Led to that, that album.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
You know what I mean? So you can't ever, you know, you go to the gig, you do the best you can, and you never look at, like, I mean, the great drummers that I know, every gig it's just still a gig.
Yeah.
You know, Gad's like, you know, Clapton at Wembley is just like, it's just a gig.
Yeah.
It's no different than when he was at 7th Avenue South, you know, making $125, you know.
Right.
He didn't try any less
there,
you know, and it's the same thing. Like, it's all an experience in a gig and just...
One of the things that really hit me tonight, and it's interesting that I came into Ed Thigpen's video recently. I've fooled around with brushes, and much like you said, I just played them like sticks.
Right.
But recently came to understand what real brush playing is. Right. And one of the big things that hit me with your clinic tonight was how musical they can really teach you as a drummer. Because as drummers we don't have that the ability, or I guess we don't have a way to sustain notes. We don't have that benefit. So as a drummer using brushes now, I mean, it's approaching it now for me is a completely different world. Let's talk about the importance of being musical on the drums in this day and age. It's kind of getting lost. And what that means to you, being musical on the drum set.
Well, I think, like I mentioned in the clinic, you know, the brushes, they make a different level of connection to the composition.
Right.
So you become aware of different aspects of the composition that maybe you weren't aware of on the drum set as a timekeeper. Right. So now I'm aware of note, sustain, articulation of the note, you know, and the way that it feels to play that melody on the brushes. And so that translates to the drums then. I start to hear those things when you know, the sound that I get out of the ride, or the sound that you get out of these. When you go to play the music, it translates over there. And, you know, the thing for me was, like, when I started doing a lot of records, you know, when I was younger, you got to fight the urge to, like, this is going to be my 50 Ways to Leave the Life. I mean, you know, every time you go to the session, you're like, I'm going to make the best drum track that ever been recorded in history, you know. And, you know, or you're looking like, where can I put, like, the most wicked drum fill? All the cats at Berkeley are going to be like, oh, Miller, you know. And you got to get that out of your brain and realize that, you know, you're there to play, like, the best music possible. So one of the things that I did was stopped putting bass and guitar and keys and all those things in my ears, and I started only having the click and the voice.
Wow.
You know, and I would play with the voice.
Right.
And just make sure that everything that I was doing felt good with the vocal. Right. Nothing felt weird with it. Nothing fought the vocal. Nothing, you know, because they're trying to tell the story, man. They're trying to do that. And I mean, I think it's just moves like that where you start to think different, you know, and go, okay, I'm going to make sure that this person can comfortably sing this tune and tell that story, and I only support it and make it better. Like, you know, I'm not going to step on it with my Chinese and, you know, or whatever, you know what I mean? And, you know, so it's a little different attitude, I think.
So who did you grow up listening to? Who were your inspirations behind, or even maybe not drums, maybe musicians themselves?
I mean, a lot of guys. I grew up around my grandparents, so I was playing big band music first. So I used to play these Jimmy Smith records with Buddy on, you know, these organ things, and you know, all these. And then, you know, when I was a teenager, I heard AC/DC or whatever. I was like, okay, that's cool. The chicks dig that. So, but anyway, you know, I listened to a lot of stuff. I mean, when I was younger, I was definitely really affected. I think what happens is, you take certain players, like Neil Peart and those guys with Rush. Like, that's a great bridge band, what I call a bridge band. It's not AC/DC,
Right.
where it's very simple rock playing.
Right.
It's not Chick Corea's Electric Band,
Right.
where you got like an advanced jazz thing. It's a rock, attainable, understandable situation, part oriented, yet colored in a way where guys are saying something, coming up with this thing. So I think that's why a lot of guys would take to it. They would go, I get it, I get that.
It's accessible.
Yeah, and then like I would do that, and then and then I would hear Chick Corea's band, or I would hear something, and I would go, wait a minute, like something else is happening in here. And Steve Gadd and Dave Weckl and those guys flipped me to that side when I was younger. And then once I got into that, I started really going back, and with Max Roach and Papa Joe Jones and Kenny Clark and all those guys, Gene and Buddy and Louis Bellson. And, but guys that really stood out to me, that it really affected me as players, were Philly Joe Jones, Papa Joe Jones, Max Roach, Shelly Manne. Younger guys, and younger than them, but not younger than me. Guys that I've been studying with over the years, like Jeff Hamilton and Ed Thigpen, and now Peter Erskine, I study with, and just a lot of guys. I was just in Germany for a week with Adam Nussbaum.
Oh wow!
And man, Adam and I just had such a great time. I learned so much from Adam.
Monster jazz.
Oh man, ridiculous musician.
Yeah.
Another cat that call the tune. If he doesn't know it, man, it might not exist.
Yeah.
Another guy just like that. We were talking about that same thing, just we know a million songs.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And which sort of leads me into my I sort of got away from my original. We were talking about Gadd and here and the Billy Sheehan thing, and one of the things that I think I sort of saw in your clinic, and I definitely saw it in Kenny Aronoff was here recently, and then I saw it briefly. I spoke with Gadd at PASIC in Austin this year, and one sort of thread that I see is that fearlessness. Gadd doesn't talk about all this stuff he soaked up. He's just like, I just had the balls to get up and play with these guys. He just put up his hand and said, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so then when we talk about your sound, I sort of always say, okay, part of developing your sound is being brave enough to say, okay, here's what I have to offer.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for young drummers, say, who are interested maybe even in that theory. Developing your own sound, the whole I should be able to tell that's you playing the spoons in a crowd of drummers.
Right.
How does that develop?
Well, it develops from having something to say.
Yeah.
That's the first part.
Right.
All those guys you're talking about are extremely well educated, extremely well versed, very experienced, and they've become masters.
Yeah.
Because they have something to say. They have a foundation from which to draw upon.
Right.
And that's the thing we were talking about tonight, where it's like, don't dig that cat that that's the whatever R&B drummer that you like and stop there.
Yeah.
That's a colored version of somebody.
Right.
Whoever he listened to.
Right.
But now you're starting on the surface. It's like eating the cherry off the cupcake and then stopping.
Yeah.
It's like, man, there's cupcake under there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't do that. Go get something to say.
Yeah.
And then you come out with an attitude of check this out.
Right.
Not egotistical, but in a way I got something to say, man.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, don't ever underestimate the fact that each one of those guys you were talking about plays from here and here.
Right.
And it manifests out this way.
Oh, right.
And a lot of guys play out here.
Mm-hmm.
They go, I'm playing this beat. It should hopefully provide something for these guys to play with or dance to or whatever. No. Right. It's here and here, and it's going to come out down here.
Right.
And that's what you feel when those guys play. You feel a different pulse. You feel this solidity of things. And that guy, he has a certain presence. As soon as he starts playing, you go, man, I can feel the way that guy feels.
Right.
When he's playing. But it's coming from here.
Right.
And
it's not so all
cerebral. So that when you see a guy with mega chops and all this stuff, what we were talking about at the clinic thing, was look at all the aspects of things that are important from, is it subdivided correctly? Is it in time? What's your note sustain like in reference to the composition and the feel of what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Is it dynamic? Is it placed well? How's the sound coming out? What sound are you making?
Right.
And the tone. Like all that stuff's going down in its simplest form. So when you get hyper complicated and do all those things, you got all that inside of it and behind it, maybe not. Maybe you're leaving some pieces behind,
right.
In the effort to play more
Mm-hmm.
or to play busier.
Right.
And that's where, those mistakes happen.
Yeah. And speaking of recording music, you actually have a couple of CDs, DVDs. Arrival is what it's called. Jerry Watts, Rick Craig. And
That's the live DVD.
This is the live DVD, and this is the CD. And we can get these on your website, obviously.
You can get them everywhere. iTunes, Amazon.
And you got some...
In my set, too.
Speaking of monster players, he's got Pete Lockett's on this one. Who else? We've got Jeff Hamilton. You did a piece, was it Zorro on this one?
Steve Gadd. Well, this one, the Arrival record it was a project. It took 3 years. And it's an 80-minute long piece of music. It has 19 movements. 9 of the movements were written for 2 interplay drum set parts. So we wrote them out like almost drum corps style, where like there'd be things where I was playing, the E and the of the fill, and the other guy's playing the downbeat or whatever. And it was written out. There's improvisation there too, but Gadd and I can't even remember them all. J.R. Robinson, Steve Smith, Zorro, Johnny Rabb, Jeff Hamilton, Rick Murata, Akira Jimbo, Wolfgang Hafner, Luis Conti, Richie Garcia, Pete Lockett. And then the band is Frank Ambali, Eric Marienthal, Neil Steubenhouse, Jerry Watts. Wow. Nelly Furtado sang on one of them. Jarvis Church, another Canadian artist.
Philosophy King.
Yeah, and then Meredith Brooks, another Canadian artist, played guitar.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I was their musical director for years.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, a lot of Canadian guys. And Brad Hano, a Canadian engineer.
There you go. That's right. That's right. So you can pick these up anywhere. Arrival is what it's called, and I would suggest both because you played a track tonight, which was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And Pete Lockett, one of my favorite percussionists.
Oh, yeah,
just an incredible.
We're playing together at the London Drum Show.
Oh, sweet.
In October.
Yeah. He's a brilliant, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Truly. And another thing tonight, you mentioned, I didn't realize you had, if we can mention it, the drum lesson thing you've got going on.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this and how readers or subscribers can sign up for that.
Well, it's at russmiller.com, and it just says classroom. You click classroom. Yeah. And, to be honest, like I saw some online lesson things, and I just saw like guys just teaching drum fills and beats and stuff, and I was like, well, any information is better than no information.
Right, yeah.
So we'll start there. But the bottom line was like you show guys drum fills, and they're just going to look for somewhere to play it. Right. And that's not playing music. It's playing it's playing drums. So as much as it's good to get facility and move around and get ideas, and that's cool, I thought I don't want guys to think that learning the instrument is like shooting arrows in the dark, like this and that, and let me try this and boom. It's a compound learning experience.
Right.
We were talking about, what do you call it, the Moeller technique, and it's compound. It's like building a building. If you build the foundation of a building, it's a couple millimeters off. By the 80th floor, this thing looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? So it's the same with the drums. Like you got to get it in. It's got to be correct from the get-go. Yeah. And that means, the correct technique, the correct understanding of what's going on. It's just going to haunt you later.
Yeah.
Every one of us know that.
Yeah.
And you're just going to come back and bite you. So just get it right.
Yeah.
So what I said, when I said I was going to do was come up with an online experience that was interactive with me, where you send in video, audio, text, whatever, with your goals. I want to learn this. This is what I'm struggling with. This, blah blah blah. I shot about 120 videos. They're about 18 to 20 minutes each.
Wow.
They're 6-camera HD. It's it's real deal stuff.
High tech, yeah.
And it's all shot. Once I get your thing, I look at it. I send you back your course syllabus or course list, and say, do these in this order. Then come back. We'll do the review. Blah blah blah. and you download them. You get your password. You download everything for your except for iPad, iPhone, whatever. You work on it. We have a streaming masterclass once a quarter where you can write in live and do that. And then we're doing like a fill of the month and things like that. Everything's shot and done. So they're just finishing like the web program.
Excellent. So you said a couple months before that.
Yeah, it'll be like maybe end of September.
September.
Yeah.
And price on that was amazing.
It's like $99 US
for a year.
Yeah, for a year. And you can once you get your password, you can just download it. If you fill up your thing, you can erase them and download them again, whatever. Yeah. I'm not tripping about don't copy it. I mean, some guys might copy it, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted you to be able to download it. Yeah. So, hopefully it'll be a directive study.
Right.
Where you're getting somewhere. You're getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And somebody's coaching. I talked about you gotta have a coach, man.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Tiger Woods has a coach.
He's got a golf coach.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's got a golf coach.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah. Exactly.
A quarterback coach. Said I've always had a coach. I've always worked on that. I mean, I'm no less serious about my job than Tom Brady is.
Right. Yeah. And what do you have coming up, Russ? Where can people see you, find you, check you out?
Well, this week I did Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters comes out this week.
Nice.
The movie.
Nice.
And I play on Continuum, the TV show. It's filmed in Vancouver.
Right. Yeah.
That season 2 is running right now.
Okay.
I have a new record with the Arrival Trio.
That's right.
That's coming out. I don't exactly know when, but we're working on it right now.
Yep.
It's all done. We got to mix it and everything. I'm doing a ton of stuff for Mapex after going with them this year. I mean, they were just trying to get the word out on me switching, and then the new Saturn IV drums and things that are out. So I got every month I'm out for a week for the rest of the year for those guys. I have a couple movies that I'm starting when I get back. Some of which are the new Avatar movies.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and and there's a couple movies that I did that aren't out yet. One is Planes, which I think is coming out soon. And then I got George Shelby, a great sax player, doing his record, and another Canadian artist called Shanti, who's had a couple of records. I just finished her record. That's coming soon.
She's great.
Yeah, really talented.
Cool.
And I can't remember anything else. My daughter starts school on Monday. That's the most important thing.
There's a huge one, right?
Man,
wow.
kindergarten.
Wow, first day.
My wife is melting down right now as I'm talking.
And that's probably the biggest. That's going to be your biggest event.
I had to tell her I got to be home. Man.
You have to be home.
My wife's going to melt down Monday when my kid goes to school. So.
Thanks, Russ. I appreciate it.
What an honor. Thank you.
Black Page readers, like, tweet, +1. Leave your comments if you got a question for Rick. Leave a comment for him, or just head on over to his website. Rick. Sorry, I said Rick. Why did I say Rick? Russ Miller.
Rick's the keyboard.
Yeah, right.
RussMiller.com. And then I have the tweet and Facebook stuff. It's official Russ Miller. What is it? Official Russ Miller Drums. Facebook. Well, if you go to RussMiller.com, you click Facebook. It'll
there you
go. Or Twitter. I can't remember what it is.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you again.